And we're live. But where's Jane? Where's she gone? Well, she's not with us tonight, I'm afraid. She's feeling very tired, Jane is tonight. So, she's been doing all her chores, doing the washing, the ironing, the cooking, polishing my shoes, cleaning the car and all those things, and painting ceilings. So she's a bit tired tonight, folks. So you're going to be stuck with just me. But tonight we're going to be doing about mediumship, really, how psychics or how psychic mediums communicate with the spirit world. So I'm going to give you some tips. I'm going to talk about how it all works, and obviously your interactions are fantastic to have, and any questions you've got, and if you're developing as a medium, we might be able to sort of explore some of those ideas as well. So lots of that tonight. Let's say hello to people. Hi everyone, so it's Callum MacDonald, hi from Scotland. Yes, there's an interesting place at the moment. Will the election results today, will there be a second independence referendum? Will the SNP ever lose power? I have quoted that, actually. I have said something about that before on some of my predictions, and I felt that this is kind of their peak that's coming up. This is their peak period now. I'm seeing Scottish independence gradually being kind of watered down, and a bit of a return maybe for the Labour Party in Scotland gradually, even though they've been slaughtered lately all over the UK. But yeah, I have commented about that, and I know a lot of the nationalist Scots don't like what I say. I'm sorry, guys. I think you're going to have to stick with us. Hiya, Nana. Nice to see you again. Jane and Craig. Of course, as I said, Jane is having a rest because she's been too busy polishing my shoes and things like that. So Madge Brits, I've got to write down here today. Good evening, two beautiful souls. Yes, I am two souls tonight. It's just me. You obviously pre-prepared, didn't you, there? Your little quote tonight, before your little comment before we get live. So thanks for joining us. Thanks all for joining us. It's just me tonight, guys. Hi there, Pat, Agility Bits. If you've got a live link, Pat, we could always have a few questions in from live viewers if we want. And like any of you, if you can make a comment to Domenico and you've got a live link, we could perhaps be able to link in with you through this. I'm not sure. We haven't tried that. I'm assuming it works. Indigo, good evening again to both of them, all from Gosport. Yes, you pre-wrote your text, didn't you, as well? Good evening from Old Shaftesbury Town in Dorset. Hi there, Alison. Seen you before quite a few times, of course. And Matt, hi there, Matt again. Good evening, Jane and Craig, or just Craig tonight. In fact, I had a reading with trance medium Elaine Thorpe the other night over Facebook live, and brought my parents through, who were in my apartment standing behind me. Well, that's good, actually. Nice, you had a good proper reading there. Did you say a trance? Did you say? At a trance, but she didn't have done that trance, would she? But that's interesting. A lot happens now, doesn't it, over the internet like this. We'll have to try some readings, not tonight, but sometime in the future. I think that would be quite fun to do. Hi to you both from Wells. Well, not both, as I said. Jane can't be with us this evening. She's just a bit tired, really, just feeling lazy. She can't be bothered with you. That's what it is. Patricia's saying hiya from sunny Germany. Hiya, Patricia. Nice to see you again. And Andrew Roberts is saying hello from Chester Le Street. Good to see you. Obviously, all fairies there, isn't it? Lorraine saying hi, Craig, from Wareham in Dorset. Yes, we got it down there. I love it down Wareham, particularly Monkey World and things like that. There's a monkey sanctuary down there. Chand He saying namaste from New Delhi, India. Please send us your prayers. Yeah, absolutely, indeed. We're going through very dangerous second wave, as you predicted. I know, and the Nadi actually predicted that. It's an Armageddon. Is it as bad as that? Particularly, the Nadi said it was worse in the north, and so Delhi's had it much worse than the south. I talked to some of my friends in Chennai, and they said it was still bad down there, but not as bad as you're getting in the north of India. So yeah, we all do send our prayers. Actually, we all give our thoughts to India. It's horrific for you over there. It's like it's awful. And here in the UK, I had my second corona jab yesterday, I think it was, and just a thing like that can change it all, can't it? So I wish we could give them out to India. You make it there too. Hiya, Sally. That's my cousin Sally. Actually, that's why I always make funny comments about Sally. So I'm going to say hiya, Sally, just hiya. And Lita saying very excited about this topic. Hi everyone. Yes, so have your questions ready too, because it'll help me to it's going to be just me and you guys. So your interaction helps make the evening flow. Good evening from Greece, Leah. Yeah, Greece is opening up a bit more too, aren't you? People are likely to be able to go holiday to Greece, which is quite nice. So what a contrast with India, where we just heard. Hello, Craig. Looking forward to the topic. Yes, and as I said, the topic tonight's about mediumship, how mediums like myself and Jane communicate with the spirit world. Hello from Huntington Beach, California. From Laura. Nice to see you, Laura. Good view. And made it. You made it, Nicola Cardo, but Jane couldn't, and she was hoping you'd give her a snack. But never mind. It's just me tonight, folks, because Jane's having a bit of a rest. That Kos saying hello from Finland. Yeah, lovely place, Finland. As I said last time, we went there and enjoy it there. Lovely country if you've never been there, folks. Elaine is saying hi from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, USA. Gettysburg, yes, one of the most haunted battlefields in the world, they reckon. Ginger Tea, hi again. Hello, everyone. And Jason is again, who's with us regularly, aren't you, Jason? Yay, made it for the change. Good evening. Craig, me in Adelaide, yes, in the middle of the first thing in the morning there in Adelaide, of course, you know. Sorry you missed Jane tonight, Jason. And Anne is saying hi from Oslo in Norway, of course. Nice to see you, folks. And our topic is going to be mediumship. Evening from North Wales, Johnny is saying there. A good evening from North Wales. So we've got you all over the place, right close at home and miles away. Callie is saying, my brother died in my house and he wanted me to look after him, and I saw spirit. Okay, we can talk about some of those things this evening, about how we see spirit, how we sense spirit, objective clairvoyance and subjective clairvoyance. Nana's saying, are you and Jane actually twin souls? Just a thought that I got. Yeah, well, I suppose we are. We're kind of linked, aren't we? I don't know if I really understand the word of ideas of twin souls, but I think when people are, we're all twin souls. The whole world is one soul, actually. Everybody, the whole of existence is one soul, ultimately, behind it all. So interesting, says Kimberly. Kimberly, I haven't got my glasses on here. Glad I found your channel from Michigan. Oh, well, that'll be nice. First time here then, eh? That's good. And I'm glad that those that aren't coming back as well, because there's so many topics we do here, not just clairvoyance, a lot of ones I've got planned, new ones coming up, and some raps with, and some, we're just talking to Dominica about doing some new stuff too. Hi from India, pray for us, indeed. It's horrible there, and hopefully it will clear soon in India. You're past the worst, I hope. Karina, good evening from Finland. So more from Finland. That's nice to see. Hello from Dallas, Texas, from Amber. Well, thanks for all joining us. It's just me tonight, I'm afraid. Good afternoon from Middle Tennessee, from Rennie. Hi there, Rennie. And Lola is saying hi from Swindon, which is quite a contrast, isn't it? Swindon to all these exotic places, and me here in Eastleigh too. And hello there from Switzerland. Oh, that's nice. Best wishes to Jane. Yes, she's just having a rest. Nothing wrong, but she's just, you know, just tired tonight, and that's fair enough. Hello, Mr. Paraswaran. Noop. Hi, that's my spiritual name. That's all very close to it, which they gave me through the Nadis, and the people call me when I'm in India. So today's topic, guys, is how psychic mediums talk with the dead. Well, I suppose anybody can talk to the dead, can't they? I suppose it's getting them to talk back's the important thing, I suppose, isn't it, really? So I think I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that, and we'll take some questions later on. But I'll tell you a few of the main ways that mediums, people like me, communicate with the dead, and the kind of we'll start off by just telling you a few things about it. You can always read my books about it, of course. So, you know, I've got the book Psychic School, which is a good one, and the Psychic Workshop, and there's Psychic Protection, and there's various books I've written about it. But first of all, mediumship, you know, talking to the dead is mediumship, you know, and this is different to what you would call a psychic, because psychic work is more about helping people with, you know, your life problems, giving advice, giving guidance, giving insights into the path ahead, seeing the future, those type of things. They're all kind of in the psychic realm, right? And a lot of mediums also are psychic. So, you know, I have that as a foundation gift. as it were. You know, all of these are kind of called the gifts of spirit, because there's many gifts of spirit, as it were. You know, there's clairvoyance, there's psychometry, there's clear seeing, there's remote viewing, there's seeing the future. There's all sorts of gifts, we could call them. But mediumship is different to the others in that mediumship is the ability to communicate with the spirit world. So a psychic person can't communicate with the spirit world. A medium can be a psychic, because a medium can see the future, the medium can do this, that, and the other, you know, all the sort of psychic things. But a psychic as such doesn't have the mediumistic ability. So in a way, mediumship's a kind of a step up in some respects. And then the step up from that is someone that's on a very, very high spiritual level, on the guru levels, as it were, who can do all these other city gifts, as it were. But that's another question. But so mediumship is different to psychic in that mediums communicate with the spirit world. Now, a person that's psychic might have, for example, a bit of telepathic ability. So, you know, there's not a big leap between the two. You know, it's not like a division that's sort of cut off, because some people are on the edge, as it were. So you, for example, watching, might have had telepathic experiences. Now, these would be classed as psychic. So we get telepathic experiences between us, like when we know when the phone's going to ring, for example, we might have picked a telepathic message up with the person that's calling, or when two people get on really well with each other, you know, you might share thoughts, or if they get on badly, you might pick up the negative vibes as well. So we get these times when we share like mind-to-mind communication and thoughts between ourselves. Now, basically what's happening with mediumship is the telepathy's not going from person to person, living person to living person, but it's the same kind of feeling you get, but you get a telepathic communication with the people in the spirit world. So talking to the dead is all done in here, really. It's like a communication like you would get if you've ever experienced any form of telepathy. And you know what it's like if you've had a telepathic experience, and I think most people have had some form of telepathic experience where you just get a feeling what someone's thinking and things like that, or pick up a word, or pick up a thought, or pick up if someone's in danger and things. It's all in bits, isn't it? Most of the time you don't get it like a voice speaking to you. You get a feeling of things. You might hear words sometimes, but you get this kind of inner sort of knowing. And in many respects, communicating with the spirit world's a bit like that. And a medium has to distinguish and build that process of connection over a lifetime, really. At first, you know, when you're first working in a circle to develop, you'll get bits and pieces, you know, and you'll get odd bits, and you might get a few really accurate things and then a load of rubbish, you know. But eventually you start to learn to connect to the spirit world. And you begin to realize also that communicating with the spirit is not quite the same as communicating in a person in this world, because it's a blending of thoughts. The spirit world actually bring their vibration down to me, and I have to try to bring my vibration up to them, and somehow the two energies kind of get to a point where they can just about resonate with each other. So what they're doing is they're planting thoughts into my mind, or the medium's mind. So I get a feeling about something. And when a thought comes into your mind, you think of any thought that you have, other thoughts get connected to it, don't they? So the spirit world might drop a thought into my consciousness, and I might add something to it, you know, and spoil it. Or I might add something to it and connect it with something like a memory. So I might see a spirit person talking to me, and it reminds me of someone I know. And actually, by the fact that it reminds me of someone I know might mean that that's the name of the person, or that's the personality of the person that's communicating. I get memories being connected to a thought that's been fed to me. All right. I thought I was going to try to make this simple, but that sounds complicated the way I'm saying it. But basically, it's all internal, right? So I'm blending my thoughts with the spirit world's thoughts, and the medium's mind is also included. And this is why some mediums, if they're not a clear channel, may let their mind get too involved and start putting their own preconceptions to to a thing, or might start moving the message in ways that they're thinking about it. So in a way, when you do mediumistic stuff, you've got to be really awake, really aware, and yet at the same time really passive in some ways. You know, you've got to allow that blending to happen. But then you can't just sit there and just open, because sometimes nothing comes. You know, you might start to get a connection with someone in the spirit world, but you've also got to create like an internal dialogue with that person in the spirit world. You've got to prompt them. You've got to push them around a bit. You know, if someone's connecting, you've got to say, and they're quiet, you know, you've got to say, come on, give me a message. I've got your loved one here, and you've got to give me some information. Tell me. And they say something, you know, oh, I was a grandmother, you know, and it's like, give me more. What was your name? What did you do? What did you like in life? You know, so we get these connections like this. We have to push the spirit. And Jason, yeah, absolutely. We have to get these, like, we also get these hooks. So we've got to keep the clarity and be able to learn what's the difference between what my thought is and what's the thought coming in from spirit. And that's the hard bit, because particularly when people are starting off, they get, like Jason's called them, memory hooks, which I think is actually a very good phrase, actually. Jason, that's a clever phrase. I'll pinch that one and put it in one of my books. Yeah, it's like, you know, it's like, we get our own associations. We need to have something that we need to be able to sort of build on. You know, we need a sort of a framework that we can build our sculpture on, as it were. You know, we need some blueprint to help us to connect that information. And that information mainly comes through our ability to use our own thoughts, our own memories, and yet still remain a clear enough channel to be able to distinguish between what is coming from the spirit world and what is coming from our own intuition or our own thoughts and memories. So do you feel the energy before they speak to you? I feel energy out of the blue, almost like they want to enter my body, but I doubt them to leave as I'm not settled with it at all. Okay, that's an interesting thought, because this is what I would call clairsentience, partly. You know, we first get a feeling of the spirit person around us. You see, we first start to get a sense of the personality, for example. So when I first open up to spirit, which one has to open up one's energy field, and there's processes to do that, and there's methods which you'll be taught through if you're in a good circle. They teach you how to do that. But we get ourselves into a very attuned state, and it's only when you're open and attuned that mediumship happens. You know, when I'm going down the shop to pick something up for Jane or something, I'm not attuned to anything. You know, I'm just like any other person, not switched on to it, you know. But when you've opened yourself up, you get a sense that there's somebody with you. Sometimes you get the feeling, when you, particularly because you've opened up in order to do a reading for somebody usually, or do a demonstration of mediumship, and you'll get a feeling. If you're going to go to a theatre, for example, and do a demonstration, you know, we might pick up things on the way there. You know, in the car, you might just be getting feelings through the day of somebody that's going to be communicating. So we get, first of all, this clairsentience, this energy of just the sensing of the person, which we have to build the rest upon, actually. Kimberly's saying, I have what feels to be a stream of consciousness. It's always associated with a message for someone, and when it's over, I rarely remember what was said. Okay, that's quite interesting too, because this often comes with mediumship. Particularly, I teach people when they're learning, particularly, okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I thought you said some more there. I thought it was flash. Yeah, we get when I'm teaching people mediumship, I try to teach them to allow their mind to flow, to become very fluid, particularly in the early stages of mediumship. Later on, you have to kind of channel that, like I was kind of been describing about being able to distinguish between your thoughts and other thoughts. But if you can get into a flow of consciousness like that, it's a very good way to start off with getting messages from someone, because it comes often through that stream of consciousness, like you've described it, which is very different. You know, like when a medium meditates, as it were, it's very different to what happens when we do meditation in yoga or something like that. Most meditation is about focusing the mind, about keeping the concentration fixed and helping one to attune with the higher awareness and awaken your consciousness. Mediumship has that as well, but it also includes this kind of flow of just letting thoughts come into your mind and letting oneself become very fluid, you know, because with mediumship, a large part of the biggest enemy is your own rational mind. You know, I expect, you know, the others there, obviously some of you are developing your mediumship or are mediums or developed. You'll find that often, it's like we talked about memory hooks that Jason said there, you know, often we kind of change things, you know, and we have to get this intuitive mind and allow what the first thought we get is right. This is the hard bit to do, because we're taught to think about things and question things, and our natural state, particularly in the world today, is to be quite rational, you know, and not to allow ourselves to throw ourselves into any old thing that comes to mind. But with mediumship, you more or less have to reverse that, and you have to sort of go with whatever the first thought comes to you. And this is what I do when I teach people mediumship, for example. I get them working, and first thing people do if you try to teach them mediumship is they clam up, right? Because obviously, naturally, it's difficult. You worry, you know. So I said, right, put all any embarrassment aside. Don't worry about if you look an idiot, because we're all here to help you. But just say whatever comes to mind. First thoughts. And then they'll say a first thought, and I say, now, next thought, go on, anything, what comes to mind? Next thought, what's their name? Quick, now, you know, and you push them, right? And that way, it kind of helps us to get that rational mind pushed aside for a little while. So this natural, intuitive knowing can get a chance to speak through you. So it's very difficult, particularly at first, because you're doing things in a kind of a different way to what you're used to thinking. So what's the difference in channeling and mediumship? Well, I would probably say it's only a word, really. Americans tend to call channeling channeling, because when you are a channel for the spirit, a medium is a medium. It's a state in between. It's the medium that it goes through, like we have the medium of air that sound travels through. So the medium is like the conduit of the spirit, right? So the spirit works through the medium. So being a channel is just another fancy word for it. But usually that channeling is often more associated with the sort of trance mediumship, which is also a whole new different type of mediumship. So for example, I've been describing here what you would call mental mediumship. You know, it goes through the mind. Now that mental mediumship can also be intuitively seen within oneself. Some mediums will objectify it and see it outside of themselves, so their mental mediumship is seen as a projection. Some forms of mediumship produce a figure in the room. So, you know, you get people like Gordon Higginson, a great medium from spiritualism, who would produce ectoplasm and it would build up in the room and everybody could see the spirit. Some, like Leslie Flint, for example, would produce a physical voice that everybody could hear around him. A voice would just appear in the seance room. And then there's others that we would call trance mediums. And this is where it comes close to what I would call the channeling. You know, it's like a trance. The spirit speaks directly through the medium. The medium goes into a very relaxed state, and instead of just, like I said, first thought that comes, they put their mind in the background, go into a sort of kind of like a hypnotic state. It's slightly different to that, and they just allow the spirit to talk through them. And channeling tries to do the same. But the only problem I worry with that channeling and with trance mediumship is it needs to have proofs in it and not just people talking their philosophy as such. Okay, that was the same question there. So that's kind of a lot of questions today, of difficult ones actually. It could take whole videos to talk about, but that's kind of one of the distinctions. Craig, what determines who helps a past loved one through the heavenly school? A psychic told me my brother was guiding my mother. I wondered whether my father was. What determined who does it? Well, I can't answer what that psychic said to you there, Lita. We're talking now about the next world, what happens in the next world and who guides us. The next world, we are guided by all those people who love us first and foremost. We're gathered that love attracts, and in the spirit world, those that love each other, wherever there's love, whatever form that love might be, it would attract, and the people would come together. And also, of course, in the spirit world, there are beings there who have evolved to a higher level and don't need to incarnate again on the earth, or have been a long period in the spirit world before they need to incarnate. And they often will become like the guides and helpers, because with mediumships, when we communicate with the spirit world, I'm sure most of you have heard about this idea that mediums talk about, that we have spirit guides, you know. And so these are the higher beings of light, as it were, that help people in the next world, in this world. And particularly if a person's developing mediumship, we need a bit of help to help with that very subtle and hard to define communication, to help to get those thoughts in the right direction, to help to open the channel, as it were, of the medium and protect that medium from any negative energy that might be around them when we do this work. So I didn't quite answer that question, but it's kind of taken us off into the question about the nature of the afterlife there. I have a drink of water first before I answer yours, Ginger. Ginger tea was, I must think about that. We must have ginger tea when we talk. The feelings that you were talking about, I have had those feelings many times, that sometimes will happen, and it does happen. How do I develop this skill more? Okay, yeah, well, this is the key. Mediumship will start, like you say there, Ginger Tea, as a kind of just a feeling about it, you know, like supposing you've lost someone, your mother is in the spirit world or something, you'll get a sense of them around you. You'll get a sense of their personality. You'll get a sense of their feeling. I would call it almost like their atmosphere, you know, their energy, you know, like a feeling of what they're like, you know, almost like a perfume, you know, it's like all the memories are connected with this sense of their presence. So that's how it will start. This is the clairsentience I'm talking about. Now, a medium will be able to build on that and feel more than just the clairsentience, because through that clairsentience we start to get feelings. For example, if we're giving a message, some of the first feelings we get will be on our body. They'll tell us how they passed, you know. So I might feel it in my heart, or I might feel it in my lungs, or my throat, or my kidneys, or my back, or crushed pain or something, or whatever. However the spirit person passed, we will get that in the same way you get that feeling of the person's character and energy. And also from that those feelings that you're getting, Ginger Tea, you can also pick up the person's personality. There's a lot we can get from what we call clairsentience. Clairsentience is like the thread. And then on this, we also get the extra gifts that we can add to that thread that help to build the picture even more. And those are things such as clairaudience, where we start to hear the names and things. But, you know, a medium can't go straight in and get the name usually. You need to build it up on the basis of that clairsentient energy first. That's always there working in the background, where we get the feeling of the personality of the person, the feeling of how they died. They might be able to give us associated memories and things, that we start to pick onto that. You see, once we get connected into it, we can start to build on it. Now, if you were sitting in my circle, Ginger Tea, I would probably start you off by doing what we call psychometry. Now, this is where you take an object, you know, you hold an object, and you hold that object, and you hold it, and you talk all about it, you know, talk about who owned it, all the things like I've described there, the personality of the person, the clairsentience that you can pick up of the vibrations that are left connected with that object. It's not mediumship. You're picking up the memories that have been imprinted on something. You know, this is what happens when you go into a spooky house. You pick up the energies, or like when you go into a new home, you'll know if it's a good feel or not, you know, or if you were blindfolded and taken into Belson, you would know you're in somewhere horrible because you can pick it up from your feelings. And psychometry works like that. And that is the way I teach. I've taught pupils over the years when I've taught mediumship, that you develop first this sensing, you know, this clairsentience, which is we can get through practicing psychometry. So people will bring things along. They might bring their mother's brooch, or they might have brought something of their own, or that if they know the history of it, but you don't know anything about it, and you hold an object and you talk about it, they can start to confirm and prove to you that what you're getting is right, you see. So Franco's saying, would you commend a starting ritual before a psychic session? Well, I don't necessarily think it's needed. A lot of spiritualists like to do a prayer beforehand, and if they're from that sort of background, then fine, you know. Some like to do a more intricate ritual, you know. I mean, there's been people like Deanne Fortune who used to do things like that, and those type of things, they're fine, you know. They're good energy, you know. I mean, a prayer's a good energy, a good ritual's a good energy, a mantra, you know. I used to start my circles off with OMs, but the problem is people were always a little bit embarrassed about going on, you know. But eventually they started to get into it and realize that that lifts the energy tremendously as well. And a lot of the early spiritualists, what they would do, Franco, is they'd sing hymns, you know. And I know in other circles that instead of the hymns, they now sing things like ABBA and Yellow Submarine and things. I think that would drive the spirit world away, really, wouldn't it? But you know, it just needs something to lift the energy. So it depends the type of people you're with, really. You know, people like ritual, people like pageant, people like all ceremony. So something like that can sometimes help as a way of giving your development group, whatever you do, some structure. But it's not essential. These are things based on belief rather than based on necessity. Yeah, so, you know, later on, we hope to have, be able to give you much more sort of like a few sessions where we will have like we're set up as like a seance room for us when we get our new property, which we're getting close to at the moment. So you'll be able to join us for development sessions, and we might be able to help you with your development live online in due course. Not yet, on its way. So Be Light is saying, what do you think about the buzzing in one ear, either left or right, and at different times? Well, I know some people talk about that as a possible way of picking up on one level the spirit world. I don't think it's a reliable method, really. I mean, it's like Macbeth's by the pricking of my thumb, something wicked this way comes, you know, bodily sensations to suggest that you're picking up something clairvoyant, you know. I think there are techniques that one use for getting attuned with the higher levels of consciousness by listening to the inner ear and listening to the inner sounds. I mean, these are fascinating things that are done very early in the morning and can be practiced. And when you practice these things, you will hear all sorts of incredible sounds coming from, first of all, the nerves of the ear, and then things deep within. So from my experience working with yogis and things and doing those type of things and being taught those things, I know that the ears are capable of producing all sorts of interesting resonances that you would never believe were possible. But I don't think it's a means, really, really a means for spirit communication. You know, you have to do the route that I've described, really. You have to attune your mind to the spirit world. You have to learn to bring your energy up to theirs and then open your mind and then listen to the intuition and then build upon those intuitive feelings that you get. There's no quick routes. There's no method either, really, ultimately, because everybody's a bit different. So we're going to approach it in different ways. And not everybody can be a medium either. Obviously not. You know, you're born with it, and then you have to develop it. So Caroline's saying, is telekinesis a part of spiritual, or is it scientific, and why, and what is it for? Well, telekinesis, PK, isn't it? We're talking about here. We're talking about psychokinesis, aren't we? With the same, it's the same word. So it's like being able to move an object, for example, or bend a spoon, like Uri Geller can do. And I would say that is much more linked to the material than it is to what you could call the spiritual, because I think it's coming from the body's the energy that drives the body. It's like the electrical field, or rather it's not electrical, it's like the life force field, the pranic field of the human body has the capability of being able to project itself. So poltergeist activity, for example, is projected energy from the own person. Often you'll read about poltergeist activity, and you'll read that it often comes around people during adolescence and puberty, you know, because their energy is so high and so stressed out, whether it's changing so much, that energy can sometimes be projected and can sometimes even move objects or bend objects or whatever. So I think it's on, and also that same energy is used when people try to communicate with through a Ouija board, for example. Now, that is not a good way to communicate with the spirit world, because you're using a very low form of energy. You're using a very, you know, the energy is low, and the spirit world has to come down from a high level. So what you pick up is, you know, low energy things sink: anger, hatred, jealousy, nastiness, all those things are low energy levels. So on a Ouija board, you're going to pick up the very worst of things on the spirit side. On a higher level, and if you move your energy level higher, you're full of light and no darkness, and your brightness will always protect you when you do your work. So telekinesis is very much on the same level that I would put things like Ouija boards, which are going to pick up things that might not be appropriate and might not be helpful to you. So, you know, it has to be done the hard way. It has to be done by a lot of hard inner work. I'll just read yours, Lita. I wish more people would understand that mediums aren't getting sentences thrown at them. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that they are having to decipher information being thrown at them in various ways. Can't be easy. Now, that's very wise, what you've said there. It's very wise indeed, because it is a misconception. People think, you know everything. You know, they think you've got the whole lot there. You can see the future, you can see the mediumship. But I describe it so often now. I love that phrase that's in, I think it's in Corinthians, I think it was, but through a mirror darkly, you know, through a glass darkly, it's like a mirror. You can only see bits. You can get bits and pieces. You can't get the whole thing. So you might get a feeling of the future, you know, but you might not see the whole picture. That's when people say to me, for example, you know, who's going to win this football match? I don't know, because I'll only get things when they're given to me. And it's the same, particularly with mediumship, even more so. They say we can't summon a spirit. You know, we can't summon spirits. We just have to be receptive. We can't promise to our client that we're going to get their person they want through. You know, sometimes people can, you know, they might have lost a loved one and they might spend their whole lives trying to get a true message from that person. We can't just switch it on like that, you know. And although we're mediums, you know, this is where the skeptics come in and say, oh, well, if you're in touch with the spirit world and you're communicating with them, you should be able to give me this fact, this fact, this fact, this fact. It don't work like that. You know, I wish it would, but because we get in it, because, you know, I think from what I've described before about the way it kind of works internally, it's very subtle, and your own mind's there as well. And somehow we've got to connect with this message has been given to us from the spirit world. That's a thought, you know, it's not a phrase or a sentence, it's a thought. And we got to decipher that and understand if it's a word, a name, if it's a picture, if it's an image, if it's a memory, if it's a warning, you know, what is the spirit world trying to tell us? And the more we try to mess with it, the more our own thoughts get in. So it's a terribly difficult process. The fact that spirit world can get any information through at all is an absolute miracle. But when they're able to give you something that is a really solid fact and something that nobody could possibly know, then we should be grateful that we have had really good, solid proof. But like you say, Lita, I agree with you entirely. People don't understand. There's a lot of ignorance out there, and a lot of the ignorance is propagated by television and the rest of it, where they'll film a medium. Well, I won't go on about all the bad ones, but there's a lot of stuff that's not right, you know, and it's not helping public understanding of what mediumship's all about. You know, it's a very subtle and it's a very difficult task being able to give mediumship. Naturally Nice says, is there a connection to light bulb? Funny you just said that. I just heard a click behind me actually coming from my room behind. I thought, I wonder what that is. Is the light bulb gone? And now you said here, is there a connection to light bulbs flickering or going out and the presence of spirit? It spooks me out sometimes. Well, we get power surges all the time, particularly at night when people turn all their kettles on at a certain time. That'll put pressure on the grid, and then other times when there's more power than we need, we can blow light bulbs because there's an upsurge in power and so forth. So it's an unreliable way of communicating with the spirit world if we start looking at flickering lights. You know, as I said that, I heard a click behind me, and sometimes when I sit in this is where I meditate, in the room behind me there, you see. Sometimes in that room I'll sit there meditating, and there'll be all clicks and bangs going on around the room, and I go, what the hell's that coming from, you know? And so it shouldn't freak you out, though, because it's just energy around you. Sometimes it's your own energy, and sometimes it's the spirit world giving you energy. And I would have thought a candle flickering would probably be more interesting. But then, of course, you're going to have wind around and things like that, you know. I think the spirit world have a hard enough trouble connecting their thoughts with our thoughts. And you think how hard it is to use a thought to move an object, while we were talking about telekinesis. So for spirit to be able to move objects around us, it takes a tremendous amount of their power to do that. And it would take a huge amount of energy even to make a light bulb flicker. Far easier if they can connect to us through our thoughts and through our feelings. And we shouldn't fear it, because these are just people we love. And if you're doing it and wanting to connect with a good heart, you won't come to any harm. You know, it's only if you start trying to do stupid stuff, or you've got major, you know, very serious mental problems, that you'll attract negative stuff. And even then it takes some doing. You have to just open your heart. And I think, you know, all of us, I say only a few people are born mediums. You know, I think it's 1 in a million are a medium maybe, and 1 in 100 maybe can be psychic. But whatever the case, everybody also has a certain spiritual connectivity where they will nonetheless get mediumistic glimpses, particularly when people first die, when there's a high level of energy around for the spirit world to be able to give us a connection. And I think sometimes when we get a physical thing, like you talk about light bulbs flickering, or we get signs and things like that, I think there's a special energy around as a person first leaves the world that sometimes gives us some of these telekinesis things that we were that Jason talked about earlier and so forth. We get moments, but mediumship itself is a subtle thing, and it's best to work with your inner intuition. If you feel you're getting something, trust what you're given in your thoughts. Okay, so Nana, let's have a sip of more water. If our bodies die but our spirits live forever, then there must be dinosaurs in the spirit world. Can a medium communicate with them? Yeah, I know. That's a good one. I've often thought about that, because I wrote it in my book, What to Do When You're Dead, about that. I said that, you know, if we look at life on Earth, most of the spirit world is probably going to be filled with ammonites, you know, and sea creatures from the billions and billions of years that they were here. But I think the dinosaurs, we might be the dinosaurs ourselves, just like the birds are the remnants of the physical dinosaurs. We may also, our souls may have started off because I believe in this idea of metempsychosis, because which is like we incarnate through animal kingdoms until we get to human form. I'm of that understanding. I think that when people go into the spirit world, you don't stay there forever. You stay there for a period of time that's necessary for you, and then you reincarnate again in a new form, whether it be on Earth or it might be on another planet as well. But mainly you keep to the cycle of the life that you've known. So most people reincarnate again on Earth. So the dinosaurs and things would be evolving souls, and we ourselves may even be those souls. And I don't think all souls necessarily persist after death either, which is another question, because I think until a soul as it were is formed when a being becomes self-aware. And a lot of animals, like ammonites, for example, may not be self-aware beings. They're just almost like a germ. Is it self-aware? Is an ant? Is it self-aware? Where, where do we does a germ have a soul? Does a flea have a soul? As William Blake went on about, didn't he? The fact is that a soul, I think, gradually develops. There are some, and I think others fall back into a sort of collective consciousness. They fade away again. And I think it takes many incarnations for a soul to sustain itself in a form that persists, as indeed does the human form. We persist, but some things may not persist. I think, when, for example, our pets and things like that, I think their souls persist because we've given them self-consciousness. We've helped them to become aware of being a sentient being, and I think also other animals have higher up the chain of consciousness do persist and begin gradually to evolve to a point where they become ultimately a human form, and maybe other forms beyond human, such as god forms, for example, in higher astral planes, or maybe other beings on other planets. Sounding crazy now, but that's kind of, we evolve basically. So Helena is saying, my mum read objects and were accurate. This is the psychometry I was talking about, actually, Helena. My mum would not read her children after she read Dad, thinking it was my brother. She said he will marry an Oriental. It was my dad instead. Okay, so if I understand that right, she got it a bit wrong at one point, and she picked things up. But like I say, it's this intuition is like the question that came up earlier on. This intuition we have is it's a fickle thing, and we will get things wrong. I mean, some mediums will say, oh, I never get it wrong, spirit's always right. Yeah, spirit is always right. They're giving you the message, but you as a medium are bound to get stuff wrong sometimes, and I think it's important that you reassure your sisters and don't over egg it to say, I'm the most, everything I get's right. You see some mediums with such egos. I mean, I've got a pretty good ego, I must say, but you have to have a bit of an ego. But they have such egos that they're never wrong, But we've got to be really modest and humble with this work, because sometimes we get things wrong. We shouldn't mean we should give up. There's times sometimes in the past when I was developing as a medium, and you do the spiritualist churches and things, do them night after night, and you'd be doing hundreds of the things all over the country, doing demonstrations of mediumship, and every now and again you get one that was completely flat. You couldn't get anything through, and it might have been something wrong with you. You were tired, or it might have been something. Often you get a miserable audience, just there just because it's raining outside, or they're saving on the heating, and you can do a bad evening and you give up and want to give up forever. Oh, I'm useless, and I think it helps you actually, but it helps you to understand also that it's not. Like that other message, I can't remember your name who said it now, but that it's not a clear channel. It is a subtle thing, and sometimes, if you're developing as a medium, you have confidence in yourself and persevere, because sometimes your mediumship will be really brilliant, sometimes in the beginning stages. I mean, I gave some of the best messages of my life to people when I was first starting. I was still sitting in circle and people couldn't believe what I was saying. Then other times, nothing. So it's a journey up and down the mountain. Sometimes it's a plane and you don't progress much. Sometimes you progress a lot. Sometimes you feel like you've dropped back a bit. But ultimately your mediumship is gradually developing, and I think you know, if you want to develop as a medium and you're interested in learning it, you know, and you don't, I mean, you might not actually become a medium, but you have to persevere. You have to persevere. And if you do persevere and you find, for example, that you don't have the mediumistic gift, you'll find other gifts will come to you anyway. You might find you're a great healer. You might find that you're a great psychic, you know, you might find you're a really good empathic person that can help people in a different way. You might just simply be a very highly develop into a highly spiritual person that doesn't need these gifts, that does things in a different way. You know, we all find our path through. But the important thing, I think, is having perseverance, having sincerity with the work you do, and understanding that it's a different world to what, you know, it's not, you can't learn it in the same way you could learn to build a car or build a dam or do something. You know, it's not rational thinking. You learn that it's a kind of a different way of being. It's closer to artistic skills in many ways. A lot of mediums are often creative people, particularly artistic people, because they're visual thinkers. But you know, they usually quite often find, if you look at a lot of the mediums out there, I see, you know, putting up pictures of their paintings and things on Facebook. I think, yeah, there we go. Most mediums have have been artists in their time. I was a professional artist for a short while, yeah, these things are connected. You know, it's like it comes like an idea. You know, mediumship is almost like just getting an idea, a picture in your head, but then you say it and you find that that picture you've seen, you know, it's like you thought you've made it up in your mind, actually is bang on for the person in front of you, what you've seen. You know, you see something, you see the image, you tell the person, they go, how did you know that? You know, and you know, you get feedback from people, and it helps you to have faith in yourself, because mediums, if they're right, if they're good people, they have no faith in themselves whatsoever. I've been on theatres, for example. We did a theatre in Scotland once, and I did it with it was a spiritualist thing. I used to write for the Scottish Daily Record, and we did a theatre up in Edinburgh, and some of the top mediums were all there. You know, there was all the top mediums from spiritualism and everything, and they had me on there at the same time with them all. And I noticed that these mediums, who, you know, were supposed to be the top in the world, were shaking like leaves before they went on, and were terrified that they wouldn't get anything right. And I was rather pleased to see that, because to me that showed a certain humility, a certain understanding that, you know, the gift is not mine, the gift is given to me, and I don't know if I'm going to look a real idiot when I stand up on a platform and give a demonstration until I open my mouth, because the spirit do it. You know, we are the medium. You know, we are the conduit. You know, we are what the spirit comes through to give the message. And actually, people also transfer onto us people too as mediums. They're like Freud says, you know, that you get transference. They think, oh, you're a marvelous, wonderful person. But actually, when you've given a message from someone they love in the spirit side, it's the spirit world that do all the work. We're just the middle guy. Okay, so we've got our last questions coming up now, guys. God, the evening's gone quick. I do like listening to myself, I must admit. So the last questions for tonight. So don't forget, guys, like and share this video if you're on Facebook, because it helps us to sort of build it up. We're trying to build the momentum of the channel up now. So share it as much as you can. Tell your friends about it as well. If you do that, you share it a lot. Particularly, it helps us to spread the message out to more and more people, and we can get more and more of you subscribing to the channel and turn this into a really interesting channel, which it is, I think, already, but even more so. And particular thanks to all of you who are patrons. Now, if you want to become a patron, if you're on the YouTube channel, you can have a look in the description below, and there's a little link there where you can become a patron, which means you give a small amount every month to help support the channel. And if you're a patron, for example, this Wednesday, I'm doing a question and answers live for patrons on Zoom. So in the patron site for the second and third tier people, there you can come and join me and ask me questions live. But that's not about buying stuff and just offering a service like that, because all of this is going not just to help the channel, but it's helping us to get a center together, and it's helping us to Also do a lot of really good spiritual work in the world, which you can find out about all on our website, about the things we've tried to do. We've got a GoFundMe link too there, you see, just come up too. So we're trying to build a spiritual center. We're getting close to being able to rent some space, but we want to take it step further to follow, you know, what it said in my book, you know, Messages from the Universe, about all the things that are supposed to be destined that we're supposed to do. And it's happening. But it's you that's helping it to happen. So, and also, if you've got any experiences, don't forget, stick them in the comments if you're on YouTube, and stick them in the Facebook thing. It's interesting to share stuff, make these things into a bit of a forum. And if you want to come on live with us at any point in the future, we're going to have people coming on live. So keep it earmarked for when we start asking for people. You might want to come as a guest sometime in the future. And, oh, he's put up about my new book, Secret Dream Meanings. This is Domenico putting the message up. Don't forget, you had the free download last week. So those of you who went and got the free download, really grateful. If you can now go, if you think it's any good, now go and put some comments on Amazon, would be appreciated. So it helps my personal work flourish a bit more too. So we're up for the last questions, I think, now. I don't know how we're doing on time. We're getting a little bit further along. If time is actually linear, oh, there's a good question straight away. You can have me talking for 3 weeks. Then can psychics see and communicate with our future selves? I've often wondered about that myself, and I don't know if I could answer that question, actually. I'm not sure time is linear. I think there's multiple types of time in many respects. I mean, I was shaken by the fact that when I went to India and I connected with the Siddhi yogis and I connected with the nadis and things like that, you know, that they knew everything about my life and they were writing thousands of years ago, you know. So these rishis, these people from the earlier yugas, as they call them, had incredible powers of clairvoyance that I don't think can flourish in this age of Kali Yuga, but they had incredible powers of clairvoyance where they could give messages to people in the future. You know, it was like science fiction. It was just so unbelievable. But if you're interested in it, don't forget my book, Messages from the Universe. I've got to give it a plug if I mention these things, because I tell you the whole story about this idea of what time is and whether we can put thoughts into the future. And I often wonder if we can sometimes maybe even set pointers for ourselves in the future, you know? I've often thought, if I knew what I knew then, and I think, well, I wonder if I could put a thought for myself in case I'm born again and I need to be alerted to something, you know? Could I write something in my books, for example, that I might pick up in future lives and it might trigger me for the future life? You know, who knows? So I can't answer that, Nana. It's such a big question. I think it would take a whole long discussion, but I've written whole books about it, as I've said, you know, so have a look at some of them for more detail on that. When Doris Stokes said you would become a medium, you were surprised and didn't seem to know you had such a gift. What the heck did you think your abilities were? Quite an interesting one. I knew I had, I knew that the human mind was capable of all sorts of stuff. I knew I had a lot of telepathy. I also experimented with things like LSD, and that opened my mind to incredible things. So I thought, well, you know, all sorts of things are possible with this consciousness. But I had no idea about mediumship. And Doris Stokes, who was a brilliant medium, she recognized it in me and told me that's the direction I would go. And I just didn't believe it, because at that time I was very much involved in the advertising world, you know, and I was creative, but doing advertising, trying to make a living, you know, and the rest of it. But it came true, as she said, and as you've read in my books again, Doris Stokes even told me the day I'd meet Jane. And Linda Dearsley, who wrote the Doris Stokes books, also picked up on our story, and she's written in her book, the new one, about Doris Stokes, which is also, you'll be able to get through Amazon. So yeah, it was quite a fascinating thing. So yeah, Doris Stokes saw my future, but she didn't think she did see my future. Oh, hi, Nicolo Advocado. Nice to see you again. Do you and Jane get visions about each other's futures? Do you share what you see with one another? Yeah, interesting question. Not as much as I think you'd think, actually, because most of the things I see, and it must be the same for Jane, are usually about other people. I don't often see my own future. You know, if I want to get a message, for example, if I want to do a communication and get a message from my dad in the spirit or something, you know, I'd have to go and see another medium because I'm too close to it to be able to give myself a message. And I think because Jane and I are close to each other, our lives are so intertwined and our karmas are so intertwined that we don't, just as I can't see for myself, I don't think we can see for one another. Although sometimes, you know, sometimes Jane will say something to me and say, you know, say something that she's picked up and it makes sense. So it does happen, but probably not as much as you would expect. Like Jane would know, for example, if something happened to me, or I was in trouble or something like that, or if you know, if I was away, you know, we'd have a telepathic communication over a distance. These things definitely happen. But our futures are, I think we both have a feeling about each other's future, but I think because we're so intertwined, I don't think we could. You couldn't be like visions of each other because we're on the same boat, as it were. So we're going the same direction. Oh, thank you for that, Neil. That's kind of you. That's as someone's put a YouTube booster thing for puts a little bit of money. Thank you, very, very kind of you. Good morning, Craig. Thank you for doing the live stream. Well, thank you, and thank you all for coming along to the live stream too, because I'd like to do a few more of these actually, because they're easier than making videos when with all the editing. So I might do a few more myself, as well as the ones with Jane on Friday. So keep an eye on the channel. I got your books on the free download. Great book. Left a review. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Linda. Yeah, I noticed there was a few 5-star reviews gone on there already. Don't forget the rest of you go and do the same. Thank you very much, Linda, for that. As long as you genuinely enjoy it. I don't want fake reviews. I only want if you thought it was good. But it is a good book. That one, all of them are good. Most of them are good, except that Tibetan book I wrote. Indigo, I'd love to join in development sessions and seances. Yes, well, we do hope to do some more things like that, because I know a lot of people are very interested in development. I've taught a lot of development circles over my life, a lot. And I think it's about time I started to share some of that knowledge, because there's not many mediums out there teaching. You do need to be in the same room if possible. But if I'm hoping to set up a circle and then invite you guys in as part of that circle, so you can learn by observing what we're doing, and maybe being able to somehow link you in somehow in the way we're doing this tonight. Been really good listening. Thanks, Craig. Thank you, Poppy. I'm glad you've enjoyed it. See, you're on Facebook. You can watch us both on Facebook and on YouTube. If you're following us on YouTube, go and follow us on Facebook. If you follow us on Facebook, go and also follow us on YouTube. You get it twice then, and you'll see different stuff as well in both directions. So nice of you to join us. So lots of great covers on Craig's books behind. Yes, and those covers, you will notice, are being done by Domenico's pictures. You know, he's done so many of our covers, so they are great covers. So look out for Domenico's channel as well, also the Italian Dad as well, because he's in the background doing all the work, pressing all the buttons to make sure that I can focus on you guys, and puts up the questions for us. So thanks, Domenico. And yes, all the covers. There's some interesting covers too. Some of them have been done by my friend Steiner Lund too, who did a lot of the airbrush illustrations on some of these books and these ones, you know. Yeah, so there's a lot of creative work, and lots of good energy gone into all these things. So remember the theatre. Oh, there's a message. Yes. Okay. Me and Jane are also at the theatre next week. And if you go on to the my website on the events page, you'll see the link to the theatre we're doing in Southampton at the Concord Club. It's only a small place, but I don't know if they got any places left. I think there is. So if you want to see us at the theatre, and what we're going to do, again, poor old Domenico in the background there is going to be setting up some filming of it. So we've got a few volunteers that are going to help us as well. We'd love to get a full crew in, but you can't do that, and particularly with the coronavirus, with the distancing. But we're going to have a few cameras set up, and we're going to film the audience, and hopefully it'll be a good evening, and you'll be able to watch it here on the channel. One more good reason to subscribe if you're here for the first time, if you've come to this show after we've gone live. Yes, so we look forward to seeing you all there, and you'll be able to see us giving demonstrations of mediumship, and you'll see how we differ. Jane differs from me, and I differ from Jane when we do our mediumship. Sometimes we stumble over each other when we're both on the platform too, but we hopefully between us get some very good messages for people and try to give what we call evidential proof of survival. So I think we're getting to the end, are we? But I would love to be in circle as well. I'm sure that quite a lot of you would like to. Of course, you can always come on and do my question and answer sessions on our patrons, which is in the description below. You can find it, and you're saying there's a link on the Facebook page as well if you dig for it there. So, yeah, it comes underneath the channel, I think, there. So you know, there's stuff going on there. It's not every week, but I do some for you there. So it's been great tonight, been brilliant tonight, in fact. He says thank you. Was guided to join on you tonight. You need to pull together the tribe. That's our role. Yes, true. We're being guided. We just have to go with the flow. Can you see the light overcome the dark? Of course it is. Ultimately, perseverance furthers. We will. The light always overcomes the dark. We've been through some pretty rough times, the world at the moment, and India going through terrible times as well. But one humanity, one light, one soul between us all, you know, one humanity. We're seeing when other people suffer now in other places in the world. So I think when you get spiritual people linking together, like you guys are all linking together now, you know, we're all linking together. We're forming an energy between us. We are a circle of light, all of us. By this even after it's been live, we're still a circle of light. That energy helps to lift the world. It helps us all in our own way. And there's many other mediums and other gurus and psychics and teachers all out there, all helping to just lift it a little bit. And I think it will bring us into better times. We will eventually have extremely better times in due course. Hi, Sally. Thanks, Craig. Really interesting. Nice to see you again, Sally. And John, great show. Great new book. Glad you enjoyed it, John. Yes, I remember you saying you downloaded it the other day. Nicolo Avocado, listening to the whole stream. Very good. Thank you. Yes, it's nice to see you again. You miss us quite a lot, don't you, sometimes? These timings change here in the UK. Thanks for an interesting evening, Craig. Thanks also to Domenico. Good. Yes. Thank you to Domenico in the background. Goodbye from sunny Florida. Yes. I wish I was over in nice sunny Florida now. It would be nice to have. We all want holidays and vacations here in the UK. Can't even express how much I enjoyed this topic. Oh, that's nice of you, Lita. And thanks for contributing, Lita, too. Thank you for answering my curious questions. Thank you, Domenico. Yes, we all know Domenico's in the background and his own channel called Italian Dad. And Nicolo Avocado's channel's worth a look too if you're interested in having a bit of fun. I'm going to join Patreon as well. Thank you, Caroline. That's nice because being a patron helps us move the channel forward. It's helping us to do all sorts of things in the background. Craig, my degree in music technology. I have my own studio. I am very good with professional level sound equipment. If you need to consult over equipment and sound, etc., let me know. Okay, Franco. Domenico's the one that would have to do that. Go and join his channel and put a note on there as well. But yes, we're probably. It's going to be interesting. The place we've got lined up does have a sound studio there as well. Thank you. Enjoyed the chat as always, says the Meditation Chamber. Yes, thank you for joining us again, because you've been with us lots of times. Each people have different experiences. I may live there and here, and it's already stay with us in another dimension. Yeah, people do. We're all on a different level. I bet we all connect through the multiple levels of existence, as it were, don't we? We are ultimately all one. Thank you, says Selena. And thank you guys for coming tonight. And namaste to you, Nana. So it's nice to see you all again. So many of you come in regularly nowadays too. Goodbye, it's raining, Caroline says. And nice to see you all. And nice to see you, Jason. Thanks for your earlier messages. Some good ones there. Craig, I must pop in more often. Thank you to Domenico for helping. Yes, indeed. And thank you for your interesting questions, because it's good to have some thoughtful, interesting questions, because it helps us to take and steer this in new directions. Neil says, see you next week. I hope so. I hope to see you all next week. And we're here every Friday at 7 o'clock UK time, every Friday. Naturally Nice says thanks. And Dagos says thanks, namaste. We get a lot of hellos and a lot of goodbyes, don't we, on this channel? So I suppose I better say goodbye to you all now. And thank you all for joining us. And I'll see you again next time with Jane next week. See you soon then. Bye for now. Namaste.
Would you like to know more about the paranormal world? Craig Hamilton Parker's books are now available on Amazon. Explore the future. Discover what happens after death. Unlock the secrets of your dreams. Learn to develop your own psychic skills.